All right, wonderful. The preceding days, we've been learning the Sikha from the Rebbe about the implications of Rosh Hashanah falling on the second and the third days of the week. Rosh Hashanah is always 2 days. When it falls on the second, and the rabbis even made a sign that said that it's called Pat Bag HaMelech, that when Daniel, it's a sentence from Daniel, right in the beginning of Daniel, that when Nebuchadnezzar conquered Israel, destroyed the temple, so he took everybody into imprisonment, and he, among them, he took Daniel and all his wise men, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and he took them into his court and he treated them really well. He gave them the best wine and the best food. And the best food, that's called, I guess it's the language of Persian or whatever was there. Nebuchadnezzar was from Babylon, I guess it's Babylonian language. I mean, all these countries that ruled the world, they don't exist anymore. So who knows what language it was, but it's called Pat Bag HaMelech. Pat Bag, like the special food of the king. Pat Bag. So because it's written in the Torah, so it must have more implications than just a history lesson. And also very sort of uncertain history lesson is, because there's different opinions by the commentators what exactly is this Pat Bag. But the rabbi said that no, the word pat in Hebrew also means to be separated, like petitin. Petitin. Titin means little pieces. Cut it up. And Melech, of course, is the king. So it says when there's pat, when there's Bag HaMelech, when Melech is Rosh Hashanah, when that falls out, because we make God a king. Melech is a king. So Rosh Hashanah, we coronate God as the king of the universe. Because Rosh Hashanah is the day that God started, finished creating the world, right? And man, Adam, declared God to be a king. So when Melech falls out on Bag, Beit Gimel, then is Pat. What's Pat? It's separated. What's separated? The two Torah portions, Nitzavim v'Yelech. This week we read Nitzavim. That's what we're going to read this Shabbat. And next week, right before Yom Kippur, we read Vayelech. Okay, so the Rebbe says, what's the implication of this? So if you remember, the Rebbe, Beit Gimel is 2 and 3. Beit in Hebrew. In Hebrew, there's no numbers. Hebrew, there's just letters. But there's just letters. So Beit is 2 and Gimel is 3. So what's that mean? The way the rabbi set up the calendar, this is after the destruction of the temple. So they set up the calendar. A rabbi called Hillel, not Hillel the elder, but Hillel. Hillel the elder lived hundreds of years before that. Hillel, he set up the calendar as he set it up that Rosh Hashanah can never fall on Sunday. So the closest you can ever get to Rosh Hashanah now, to the first day of creation, because Rosh Hashanah celebrates the creation of the world. So God started the creation on Sunday. God was alone on Sunday. The closest you can get is when Rosh Hashanah falls on Monday, Beit, second day of the week. So that's the closest. So it comes out that the day that God began to create the world, that was on Aleph. Rosh Hashanah falls on Beit Gimel. That means 1, 2, and 3. 1 is that God is alone. 2 means that there's apparently something other than God, the creation. And 3 is the harmony between them. And that's truly what God wanted. He wanted that there should be a world and that the world should reveal God. That's what he wanted. Why he wanted it, who knows? That's what he wanted. And not only that's what he wanted, that's what he wants right now. Every moment the world is being created. When Rosh Hashanah falls on Beit Gimel, this illustrates this, that God was alone. That's Yom Aleph. Beit and Gimel illustrates that there's an opposite of, so to speak, of God. And then there's a synthesis at the end. The 3 all come together. Good. It says not only that, shows that the Jews perfect the creation, but also God gives a blessing to all the Jews. Pat Bag is like the best food that the king had, of the king, that we get that also Rosh Hashanah. And that's what the thing of Nitzavim means to the Jewish people, despite the fact that there's all sorts of judgments on the Jewish people, and the Jewish people have all these responsibilities, and God has all these demands on the Jewish people, and the whole Torah is filled with all these laws and restrictions and they say commandments, things that we must do, and we can't do what we want to, and we have to do what God wants. And it's very hard to do all these things, right? And not only that, you have to do it the way that God wants. God wants you to do it with love and with awe and with fear. And who does that? So comes Rosh Hashanah, is the big judgment day. And you think, wow, God's given me everything. And what have I given God? Let's not talk about it. Let's just try to get over this day as fast as possible. So don't worry. Nitzavim. God understands your situation. He created you with all these faults and all these different, these how do you say, weaknesses. God created. He understands what's going on. Don't worry about it. You tried. At least you feel a little bit bad that you didn't try enough. Even if you don't know you're Jewish, right? It doesn't make any difference. God forgives you. And let's say even worse, you know you're Jewish, but you purposely did all sorts of sins. So comes along Rosh Hashanah and Nitzavim, you're still standing. You're still standing. Especially Yom Kippur, when Yom Kippur comes, but that we're not talking about it. You're standing. Why are you standing? Because you're a Jew. Just the fact that the Jews are Jews, right? This is a Jewish holiday, right? They're standing. Says, but that's not enough just to be standing and say that you're a Jew, right? So you get saved on Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah comes up. That's not enough. You can't just rest on your laurels. You have to, vayelech, that's next week's Torah portion. You have to do. You have to work. Okay. I don't really remember where we got up to. I think we even skipped this. All right, let's do Yud Aleph. Here we go. Yeah, especially this talks about the year Tavshin Nun. When the Rebbe said this, it was Tavshin Nun. That was like 30 years ago. So now it's Tavshin Pei. So these things that he says are really beautiful, but they're not as relevant as they were there. So let's do Yud Aleph. Excuse me. And let's see if I can get my point over there. Yesh Losif, we can add on, Shashleimus to Geula, that the complete redemption that we're all Jewish people are all waiting for, this is especially stressed in this year. This year, the Kaviyas, the Rosh Hashanah, how Rosh Hashanah is set. Make this a little bigger. Can I do it? No. Okay. That the Rosh Hashanah comes out on Beit Gimel on Monday and Tuesday. Beit Gimel, like it says Bag HaMelech. When it's Bag HaMelech, when Rosh Hashanah comes out on Beit Gimel, then Pat Vayelech. Then Vayelech is separated. It says, this is a big sign to us. Now, I just want to get one thing straight, which I talked about this all the time, and I have to also, I'm convincing myself also, that the Rebbe is trying to point out to us that the world, the way it is at face value, is almost a total bluff. It's almost totally, you want to call it a lie. Oh, a lie. It's even called Alma de Shikra. It's called the world of lies. The world the way we see it. that it seems that the goal of life is just, ourselves. It's not right. Okay. What's the Rebbe want to say? What's supposed to be? What's supposed to be? How's the world supposed to be? Because the world is supposed to be that only good, that everyone has tremendous potential, right? Tremendous potential. They say people use 1% of their brain. I say they use 0% of their soul, or they use 0.000% of their soul. Your soul is like your conscience and your courage and love and appreciation and productivity and originality and genius, to be positive, to do good things, right? People, not to be destructive. That's what the world is supposed to be, that everybody uses their good potential for good. Huh? Nowadays, I've seen they have these videos that people put up that the one guy goes and mows people's lawns for free, fixes up another person goes and he gives out, charity for free. He asks people if they can loan him a dime or something. And if they give him a dime, then he gives them $100. Poor people, goes up to poor people, bums on the street, give me a dime, here's $1,000. To do acts of good, acts of kindness, unusual. You open up the newspaper, it's 99% bad, and the rest of it is just lies, right? They try to find something bad to say about somebody. Oh, everybody loves it. The world is not supposed to be that way. The world is supposed to be infinitely better than we can possibly imagine. Even that little 1% of good that we use, 1% of our mind that we use, it's so tainted and overcome by our own selfishness and our own this, that it's hard for us to understand what really good really is, right? It's like a novelty. So the way the world is supposed to be a world that everyone's potential is realized. And what does that mean? To reveal the creator in the creation. That you see the world, what the creator wants. That's Moshiach. Moshiach, because the only way you can do that is through the Torah. All the other books, all the other Bibles, all the other whatever they are, the tablets that fell from heaven or messages that were given, they're all lies. They're all lies. I mean, they're nice books, it's poetry or whatever you want to call it, but they're lies. They're not so. It's not so. It directs people to the degree that it diverts from the messages of the Torah. It diverts people from the truth, from good, from revealing their potential, to relying on God. That's the point. To rely on God. People have to rely on God. You have to rely on God. It doesn't mean you have to not do anything. You have to rely on God to help you to reveal good. Right? To reveal good, not to have fear or not to have hatred, not to have all these. Okay, the God will take care of the bad things. Okay, so that's what the Rebbe wants, that we should keep in our mind that any second, the Moshiach will change the whole world around. The Moshiach will change the whole world. Just like Moses took the Jews out of Egypt, 1 second they got out. So he says that's the whole thing of this week, of this year, is really hinting that it's going to happen, because it is going to happen. That's what the Rebbe wants to do. He wants us to take away our complacency, to take away our certainty that the way things are is the way they always were, and the way they always will be. It's not so. He wants to try to put us into a different expectation of life, right? To be prepared to let God surprise us in our day-to-day life, in regular day-to-day things, right? Not to do bad things. Okay, so it says, Shabbos Shuva. Next week is Shabbos Shuva. That's Vayelech. Vayelech Shekolel. This includes in it Kam. Also, the main thing is Halicha, and going. Shebagomer B'Shleimus Kol Avoda, and the completion of all of our service. Vayelech means to walk, that all the Jewish people will come and they will return, they will walk, they will go. Vayelech means to go. La'artzo Artzenu Kedusha, to the Holy Land. Yerushalayim Kodesh, Jerusalem, to hear Holy Land. The Beit HaMikdash, to the Holy Temple. Now, what does holy mean? Holy means good. Holy means life. Holy means something that we don't appreciate. That's what I was saying before. That to us, good and godliness and love, genuine love, it's just so far away from us. It's so far away. I mean, people are going crazy. In a way, you can't blame all these people for this thing about gender change and all this crazy stuff and misusing children, to convincing the children that really boys, that really girls, because people don't know what good is. They're just going crazy. They're running around like rats and amazed. Oh, maybe this is the answer. I'll bite off my tail. I'll kill the other guy. Maybe that's the answer. The real answer is what's called Kodesh, holiness. Holiness means life. Holiness means love, happiness, true happiness, bringing God into the picture, the creator. Like it says, "Vayelchu michal l'chayil." That's what it means, going, moving. What happens when God is revealed? The world becomes dynamic. It's not that all of a sudden there's peace and everybody's just floating around. That's going up to heaven. No, but that's after you die. That's death. Life is dynamic, moving, interactions between people, improving the world, saying a good word, think a good thought, constantly wanting to improve everything. That's called walking. Going from strength to strength. Yiras Elokim b'tzion. B'lashon, like it says, lashon of the sentence, Parshat Vayelech. Right, next week we'll see. We begin to read it in Mincha. Bavo Yisrael, when all the Jewish people come, Hakel as Am Anashim v'Nashim v'Atav, you gather all the people, the men, the women, the children, Lirot et Pnei Hashem, to see the face of God, your God. Va'ad until L'siyam v'Chosam Parsha, until Ad L'Tivrei Ashira Azos Al Tamam. Sharom is that this hints at Shlemus Ashira, the completion of the song that's going to be on the week after that is Parshas Hazinu. Hazinu is a big, beautiful poem. Well, you look a couple weeks, you'll see. Mileshan Tamim, that's what it means. Ad Tomam, the completion of the Torah, also means, Tamim means how do you say, wholesomeness, the completeness, without blemish. La'atid Lavo in the future. That's going to be the song. It's going to be called the 10th song. Shirul Hashem Shir Chadash. It'll be a new song, not like all the other songs like King David sang or Moses sang when they crossed. That's called a Shirah. That's the song the Jewish people sang. In the future, when the third temple is built, it's going to be Shirul Hashem, not Shirah Chadashah. I'm sorry, Shirah Chadashah. I knew it'll be Shir Chadash, masculine. God's going to sing the song. The Geula v'amitit v'shlema, in a complete redemption, she'ein acharei galus, that there's no exile after it. V'kaviyot b'chodesh Kislev, that's what's going to be in the month of Kislev. I'm sorry, the Cheshvan and Kislev. Now, Cheshvan and Kislev in the Jewish calendar, like we say, it was preset, right? That was preset about 200 years after the temple was destroyed. This Hillel, he preset the calendar. But there are 2 months that either they can be 29 days or they can be 30 days. If the months are 30 days, then that's called filled. If the months are 29 days, then there's called empty, right? Filled. So Kislev and Cheshvan, that's the 2 months. Then both of them are filled. They're 30. Chodshim Shalim, all the months are full. So what? It's just the calendar, right? No, it's not just the calendar. Of course, it's also the calendar. There's no doubt about it. But Shlemus Chadashim, because the completion of the months, the wholesome of the months, more indicates Al Shlemus Yisrael, wholesomeness of the Jewish people. Shedomim Lavana, that they're compared to the moon. Umoni Lavana, and the Jewish people, they count their months according to the moon. Atidim Litchadesh Kamota, and it says the Jewish people are going to be renewed just like the moon is new. Begula Mitit V'Shlema, the total redemption by means of David Melech Chai B'Kayom, by means of King David, that he's alive and existing. It says in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. David Malka Mashiach, that the king, the Moshiach, never really dies. He's always there. So David Melech Mashiach says the Mashiach, the Rambam Maimonides, he says that King David, he was the first Moshiach. And we're waiting for the second coming. Second coming is going to be Moshiach, the son of David. And he's going to complete doing what King David did. Namely, to build up Jerusalem. He's going to defeat all of our enemies. Right? Like we learned yesterday in the Haftorah. Rome, the church, all the enemies of the Jews will be defeated. And it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to have to fight physical battles. Doesn't mean he's going to have to fight this. We learned yesterday in the Haftorah that God said he's going to do it himself. The battles that he's fighting, King David, are the battles like the Lubavitcher Rebbe fought. The battle, the Israeli government decided that a Jew is not according to the Shulchan Aruch. Oh, the Rebbe fought a battle. The Israeli government decided they're going to give land to the Arabs. Oh, the Rebbe fought a huge battle, fighting, right? And dangerous. The whole identity, the whole security of the Jewish people was in danger. So he called out and he did everything possible he could to try to dissuade the government, because the Israeli government, that's, so to speak, the voice of Judaism in the world, right? And ignorance, the Rebbe fought this amazing battle against ignorance of Judaism. There's Chabad houses all over the place, all over the world, trying to get these, even the Israelis that have gone to the Far East. That's the battles of the Moshiach. That's the battles of the Moshiach. It says the David Malchut Moshiach, that the king, and King David, he's alive forever. This Moshiach is going to be Moshiach ben David. And this is supposed to happen any moment. And we can add on, also, this is also what's called a pregnant year. This is a year that has two udders in it. This is also connected to the Geula. But we said before, where is this? 1 second. No, okay, good. Okay. Also, we can add on what? That this year is what's called a pregnant year. It has 13 months in it, two udders in this year. Because sure, this is connected also with the Geula. Hashva Shanas Lavana, because the years of the month and the seasons of the year, the sun, they coincide. But the Jewish calendar has to come out that the month of Nisan, which is when Passover is, comes out in the spring. So this year also, they coincide, because you have, this year is 13 months. That puts back into sync, right? It synchronizes again the months with the moon and the sun, the months of the year and the seasons of the year. This inside Maimon Matzav the Lasid Lava. This is how it's going to be in the future. She or Lavana, that the light of the moon will be the light of the sun, like the days of the 7 days of creation. It says that when God created the world, and originally that the moon had the same light as the sun. And the moon now the moon has to receive from the sun, but the moon itself shines. This is going to be like in the future, especially in the time of the raising of the dead, when godliness is not going to come from like the temple. It's not going to shine out. The whole world will shine. The whole world will shine godliness. And it's no surprise, because God is creating everything. The Holy Temple will be at a higher level, how to serve God, how to whatever. This year, the holiday of Passover comes on Shabbat. That's the way it is this year, right? When the Rebbe spoke about this, is the same thing as now. Just give me one moment, please. One moment, please. One moment. Competition from my wife over there. She's also okay. When Passover, so this year also it'll be the same. Passover will fall on Shabbat. And Passover, so what if Passover falls on the Shabbat? So we talked about this before. There's a commandment in the Torah. One of the 248 commandments is what's called counting the Omer. Counting the Omer means the day after Passover, you have to start to count 49 days. And the 50th day is the holiday of Shavuot, what they call the Feast of Weeks. Shavuot, that's when we got the Torah. But it doesn't say in the Torah, it doesn't say you have to count from the day after Passover, even though that's the fact, you do. It says the day after Shabbat, L'machrat Shabbat. So we don't count the day after Shabbat. We don't. Why did God write the day after Shabbat? Okay, the rabbis talk about that. And there was a whole big group, very powerful group called the Tzaddukim. These Tzaddukim, they said that you have to take the Torah literally. Anybody can interpret the Torah however they want. But they were sort of the forerunner of Christianity. You can do whatever you want to with the Torah. And they said that really you have to do the Sfirat Omer immediately after Shabbat, the first Shabbat, not Passover. The law is you have to do it after Passover. Okay, so that's the law. We do it after Passover. But this year it comes out, when Passover comes out on Shabbat, so we do according to everybody. Everybody's happy. We do according to what the rabbis say, that it has to come after Passover, and that's the true meaning. But we also do it what the Torah says, right? The Torah says it has to be interpreted properly. But the Torah says, not like the Tzedukim did, Torah says you do it after Shabbat. So this year, we start Sfirat Omer, the counting of the Omer, the day after Shabbat, right? When Shabbat goes out, and also when Passover goes out. So it comes out together. So this is complete, just like the Yemei Breshit, just like it was in the creation of the world. Shetachlit hashlemot of Sheva Shabbatot Tamimot. When is Passover? When is the holiday of Shavuot going to come out? This is going to be there's going to be completed 7 complete weeks. 7 complete weeks that'll start off with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, just like in the creation of the world. It'll be complete work. So if so, it comes out that the sacrifice of the Omer, which begins this counting of the Omer, and the sacrifice of Shavuot, which is the 2 loaves of bread, will come out exactly right. It'll be exactly 7 weeks, starting from Yom Rishon, finishing on Shabbat. May it be God's will that we're coming into the year of Ereno Niflaot. I will show you miracles. And because this year is not, when the Rebbe said this was 1991. And in Hebrew, that corresponds to Nun Aleph. And we're not in 91 now. No, I'm sorry, 1991. We're not, now we are in 2023 we're coming into. So that in Hebrew, that's Pei Gimel. So we'll have to make something up ourselves, because now we're coming into the month of Gimel Pei. Gimel Pei means Geula, Plaot, miracles of the redemption. Plaot Geula. You can make up something better. You're welcome. In any case, Moshiach was for sure supposed to come 32 years ago. No doubt about it. So everything is waiting, right? The stage is waiting. It's just can't figure out why he's late. It's not like waiting for a bus or something. Maybe it's going to come, maybe not. Maybe the bus company went out of business. Here, this is God. God doesn't go out of business. And God promised Moshiach has to come. So it's not going to fold up, and there's no mistake. Why it's taking so long, we don't understand. In any case, now we're into the year of Niflaot Bo, Plaot, Geula, Niflaot, Plaot, and everything. Niflaot, Bina, coming to understand. Bina, let's extrapolate over here. Say, Gevura, Niflaot, Gevura, Gimel, this is Gimel. And Bina is connected to Gevura. Bina is on the left side. Anyways, however you want to fix this thing out, it will come, the poem mamash, actually, immediately, take it from Yad, HaGeula Amitit V'Shlema, a total redemption. We talked about this before, that there's, according to some opinions, it's forbidden for Kohanes. There's 3 types of Jews. There's a Yisrael, Levi, and Kohen. The Kohanim, they're the ones that work in the Holy Temple. It's forbidden for a Kohen to get drunk, to drink wine. Forbidden. There's some opinions. I don't know if that's really the law, but anyway, it's mainly I think it's the law because it's impossible to stand in that law. Every Kohen in the world. Any case, why? Because it takes 24 minutes for drunkenness to leave a person. Let's say if he goes to sleep or he runs or whatever, 24 minutes. And it could be that from this moment right now, right, you take a drink, that within 24 minutes, the Beit HaMikdash will come from heaven. And in other words, this whole thing can happen in an instant. And you can imagine, if the Holy Temple did all of a sudden manifest itself from heaven, and it came down, I imagine we give 24 minutes for all the Arabs to leave the what is that, Al-Aqsa temple over there, the whatever they call it, the mosque over there, to minimize the damages. However, God will figure out how to work it out. But if that happens, the newspapers will not be able to ignore it, right? The media will not be able to cover it up or divert everyone's attention to something, something else. Then there'll be the whole world will wake up. That's what it was in the 6-Day War. 6-Day War, all the Jews, the whole world woke up. All of a sudden, that God is with the Jews, everybody. So it can happen. It happened. And in fact, it happened big time. That's the first of the 10 commandments. God took the Jews out of Egypt. That's it. Took them out. One day. And just like there's a sentence in what is it, Hosea and Micha, like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. Like it says in the Torah in Parshas Nitzavim, that we read always on the Shabbat before Rosh Hashanah, this Shabbat, V'shav Hashem Elokecha, that God will return et shavutcha, all of your scattered Jews. And some people said, Rashi brings down et means with, that God will return with all of the scattered Jews. It says, B'kol tzorotom lo tsar, that God is actually he's pained by the pain of the Jews. V'rachamecha v'shav, that was in yesterday's Haftorah. Remember the Haftorah, we learned that yesterday from Isaiah. This week, what is it, Isaiah 63, 62, 63. What does it say? This week's Torah portion, it says, even if the Jewish people, it's not one of the prophets, this is God himself, Moses, if you are scattered to the ends of the heaven, God says, I will gather you up together, and God will gather up all of your scattered people, and he will have mercy on you. And he again will gather you together. It says in the Torah, the Jewish people, like it says, especially in the first letters of Niflot Bakal, Bakal Mikal Kal. This year it's going to be Pelaot Geula, Pelaot Gmurim, Gmurim, complete. Bakal Mikal Kal. This Bakal Mikal Kal is the same gematria as Kabetz, to gather together. In the future, the Geula Miti Tashlema, in this complete, total, truthful redemption, Al Yedei Mashiach Zikenu, by means of the Mashiach. Allah on the Mashiach, it says in the prayer of Chana, it says, Vayitein Oz Lamalko. God, we read this, by the way, on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, the Haftorah. Maybe I should go over this. Maybe, listen, I'll tell you what this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. I have my laptop with me here, see? So I'm going to, God willing, on Sunday, I don't think there's going to be a class. I don't think there'll be a class. You can tune in and see. There is. I'm going to be in Miron, but I'm bringing this new laptop with me. So, God willing, I'll do the Haftorah of the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. The first day is just, incredible. It talks about the birth of Samuel, the prophet Samuel, with Hannah, and the prayer that Hannah. Anyway, so she has this a child. She's barren, and she gives birth to. And finally, she gives this beautiful praise to God. And the end of the praise, it says, Vayitein oz lamalko, that God should give power to his king, V'yorem keren, and he will elevate the glory, Mashiach, of the Mashiach. Ubelashon to feel in the language of our prayers in the end of Shofrot, Rosh Hashanah, right? In the Musaf prayer of Rosh Hashanah, we say in the middle of the Musaf prayer of Rosh Hashanah, there are 3 blessings in the middle. 3 blessings. One of those blessings is we ask God to listen to the sound of our shofar that we sound, and we bring 10 sentences from the Torah, 3 from the prophets, 3 from the writings, 4 from the Torah itself. What do we say? That we finish all these 3 blessings of Malchut. That's the first 10. The first blessing has these 10 sentences from the Torah, forcing God, so to speak. God, you yourself said you're going to be a king. 10 more sentences. That's the second blessing. God, you said you're going to remember us. And shofar of the last 10. What is it? Taka b'shofar gadol, that God will sound this great shofar, lecherotenu, to free us, v'san nes, and he will raise up a flag, lekabetz giliotenu, to gather together our exiles. I share that after the service of the Jewish people. When we sound the shofar now, and especially on the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, then God will do we do our part, God will do what he promised. It will be on that day, Yataka b'shofar gadol, there will be sounded a great shofar. Where is this? You can look it up on Isaiah. See, in the first 40 chapters of Isaiah, he's very harsh on the Jewish people, very harsh. But in every one of those chapters, there's always some little sentence of hope that sort of wrecks up all these negative messages and things. Not only will it be in the future that God, it says, will sound this great shofar. Not, it says, Ella b'lashon halva, it'll be right now. Ad b'lashon avar, until it will be in the past. Remember that great shofar that we heard? Wake up all the Jews. The Rebbe, interestingly said, I said this before, there's even a mimer about this, that the Rebbe said that the 6-day war, that was something like the big shofar that the Moshiach will sound. Now, the 6-day war. I wasn't even religious back then, but like I say, I remember people were going berserk. I personally was not going berserk at all because I could have cared less in the whole time at that time. But like I said, I had this uncle that was a depressed guy and an anti-religion super, and he gave all of his money to Israel, everything, emptied out his bank account. Uncle Irv. It was just, everybody was just woken up. The people ran. There were so many people running to the Kotel, to the Western Wall, that all these other Hasidim who were usually very insular, they sent people down to the Kotel to put tefillin on people. It was just a huge arousal, incredible. It says that's something like that is going to be the shofar gadol, the big shofar. In any case, if the third temple comes down from heaven, that certainly is going to wake up a lot of people, more than the 6-day war, I think, maybe, who knows. In any case, it'll happen. And it'll happen to the degree what it's going to be in the past. We'll see. Wow, it happened already. I didn't even know. Immediately, niftarim labateyam l'shalom. Everyone will go home in peace. What do you mean go home in peace? What home? Labayat amiti, the true house of every Jew. The third temple. The Geula Shlishit, and the third redemption. The first redemption was from Egypt. The second redemption was from Babylon. Babylon, the Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple, and we came back, we built the second temple. And the third redemption will be, says, from Rome, from Edom. We read that in the Haftorah yesterday. Remember, we learned Haftorah. God's garments will be red. It says from Edom. It says it says that God enlivened us for 2 days, but on the third day God will raise up the dead, and we will be live in front of Him, and we'll be in the holy temple. The Kol Shlosha Kadoshas, and all the holy 3 levels of holiness that are in the holy temple. Right in the holy temple is the outer courtyard. And then there's the place that's called holy. That's where the menorah was, the candelabra was, and the small golden altar. And then there was the Holy of Holies. And especially in the Holy of Holies. But and even more, this is the main thing, Shekain Tiyelanu, that it should be to us, actually. And even more, Shekavar Hayatalanu. We should say it already happened. But Avar. It shouldn't just be a hope and a dream and a request and a prayer. One day it's going to happen. It'll be that it actually is happening, and we'll say it already happened. Right? It'll be in the thing in the past. How could the Rebbe once said that in the future we won't have to believe in the redemption. We'll have to believe that there was exile. Kids will say to the other, my father said there was a time when all the Jews, they didn't believe in God. Did you? I didn't hear such a thing like that. I don't think that's right. Let's go ask our parents. Yeah, there was, it was a time when there was Jews that they really didn't believe that God exists. How could such a thing be like that, Daddy? How could it be? So I don't know, but it happened, and let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about God, and here let's learn Chassidut. We'll talk about Panimiyot Ak. We'll talk about the Tzimtzum. The good healthy things, right? We'll talk about Ubafrad, according to the Pitkam, according to the known saying, which is from our rabbis, and which was about advertising says that when Mashiach comes, it'll be advertised in all the newspapers. Kafishin Itkayim, like it's been in the last years. It's written in many, many newspapers. Remember, this is what happened, and this was Tafshin in 1991. The whole Iron Curtain fell. Like that, one day. Not one drop of blood was spilled. In order to stand up, right, the Russian Revolution, there's like 2 million people killed. That's what I read somewhere. In the revolution, in order to establish communism, and then in order to sustain communism, they say that Stalin killed, 50 million people. I read a place at 50 million. They don't even know how many. Some people say, oh, come on, he wasn't such a bad guy. 50 million, that's an exaggeration. You should be ashamed of yourself. He only killed 20 million people. Oh, that's different. I understand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything, not against the family, 50 million people, 20 million people, what difference does it make, right? And all of a sudden, this whole regime that if you would speak against Stalin, you would think against Stalin, they would kill you. All of a sudden, the whole thing fell down. Right? Now we got in, I read in that in Iran, they're making these revolts on the street. They're killing people in the streets. In Russia, they're making big how do you say, Hafganot, and they're making big march protests, huge protests, and nobody gets killed. They're not killing anybody. Maybe they're taking people to jail or something like that. You could, if you in Stalin's time, you would make a revolution in the streets. What do you mean 1,000 people in the streets? As soon as 3 people gather together in the streets, you'd never see them again, right? All of a sudden, the whole thing fell down. Boop, one day, the whole attitude of the people fell down. And then after that, there was Saddam Hussein. He shot, 39, 40 missiles, huge missiles with huge warheads on them. And they were sure that he had the chemical warfare and this. And in both cases, both the fall of the Iron Curtain and Saddam Hussein, the Lubavitcher Rebbe was the only voice in the world, the only one, only from all the rabbis, from all the experts, from all of this, that he said also the same thing with the 6-Day War. That was way before. He said the Iron Curtain is going to fall, people are going to get out. He told the Hasidim that when Saddam Hussein was, I remember, the Rebbe said, listen, there's not going to be any chemical warfare. There's nothing to be afraid of. No one's going to die. You do what they tell you to do. But the fact is, you're not going to need these masks. Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. Everybody knew it. No one could deny it. Hine Moshiach ba. Everyone saw that here it is. Moshiach is coming, or Moshiach is here. The take of a miyad kavar bon, and immediately we'll say he's already here. But Paul Mamish. Now, there's this thing of Moshiach is supposed to be something that's supposed to have happened a long time ago. And here the Rebbe is saying, not so 2,000 years ago, 30 years ago, it was supposed to happen. So 2,030 years ago, it should have happened. It hasn't happened, so it has to happen right now. But we see what the situation of the world is. Don't look at the bad things. Any second, it's all supposed to be okay. The matam is of tefachim below 10 tefachim. In other words, physically in this world. But Geula le'enei kol ha'olam, that the whole entire world will see. The how much more so le'enei kol Yisrael. That's how the Torah ends. That's the last words in the 5 books of Moses. Le'enei kol Yisrael, in the eyes before the eyes of all the Jews. Every Jew will see, every Jew will feel. Take of him yad mamash, immediately the arrival of Moshiach, the total redemption of the world. Everyone will be interested only in good, only in love, only in life, only in miracles, letting God, right? As I've said so many times, there's these people that they say that there's too many people in the world. Too many people, not going to be food, not going to be air, there's going to be diseases, they're not going to be this. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe says there's not enough people in the world. How can you take care of all the people in the world? How can you take care of? So the answer is that you can't take care of all the people. God will take care of them. God will provide somebody that he'll figure out how to make, food from air, who knows what, how to live on the sea, how to irrigate all of the deserts in the world, right? There's these genius people they show in Africa. They got these people who live in Africa, savages, that this all of a sudden you leave them, they invent all these ways to make, to purify water, to build buildings, to do this. They're just not given the opportunity, or they have terrible leaders. The whole world has terrible leaders. Mashiach is going to be the ideal leader that believes in every person and every the potential, unique potential in people that everybody else rejects. The Rebbe once said about children that have autism and this, he says they see God. They can't understand how we're acting the way we act. They see the truth. What do you mean say the truth? These are not normal people. You have to put them in an institution. Rebbe, what are you talking about? These people, we're the ones that are not normal. They can't understand how we act the way we act, how we can hate each other. I don't understand it. He says that's what's going to be in the future, that the good potential, the blessing and the love which is concealed inside of each and every one of us will be revealed. That's the job of Mashiach, and that's why we need, and that there certainly will be Mashiach now. And I'll answer your question, but first of all, let's do the Yom Yom. 1 minute. This is a new stop share. 1 minute. No, I don't do that. I do this. I forgot how to do it. 1 minute. Okay, yeah. No, did the wrong thing. Here we go. Let's try this. No, that's also not it. How do I get to the topic? Let me do this 1 second. This is a little bit different setup over here, so I want to Yom Yom. Oh, here we go. Oh, was almost there. See, I got this new keyboard also. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, I see. I probably have to make this screen. Okay, I'll figure it out. Oh, Hayom Yom. From the holy teachings of the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad. It's called Yisrael Goy Echad Ba'oretz. The Jewish people are one nation in the world. It says, what does it mean? The Jewish people are Goy Echad, even that they're Ba'oretz, even though they're in the world, but nevertheless they're Goy Echad. They're always, Jews are always attached to the oneness of God. God transformed the spiritual into something material. Don't think that God is just up in heaven. God is only for the rabbis or for the whatever in the synagogue. No, God transforms the spiritual into material. God makes spiritual, creates the world. The Jews, they transform the material, the physical world into something spiritual. We see the deeper meaning inside of everything in the world. That's what it means, Goy Echad. We are one nation in the earth. Goy Echad. We reveal the oneness of God in the world. That's our job. That's today. Let's do tomorrow. Shabbos. God's blessing brings wealth. Birchas Hashem hi tashir. Birchas Hashem hi tashir. Blessings of God, this brings wealth. Get my fire pointer here. There we go. This is so in general. God's blessing brings wealth, but especially a person who devotes himself to the community needs, charity, strengthening Judaism, right? Giving people what they're lacking. A lot of people are just lacking a smile, a good morning. God never remains a debtor. Bleib nicht kein Balchob. The Eibishter Baruch Hu, bleib, God never remains in debt. Every good thing a person does, God will be, not only just Jews, everyone. God will recompense him. He'll repay him with children, health, livelihood in abundance. And now sounding of the shofar. Okay, let's go. I have a new small computer here, so maybe let's hear this, how the sound comes out. Okay, that's the last time you hear a shofar this year, except for Rosh Hashanah, because you can't sound the shofar on Shabbat, and you can't sound the shofar on Sunday, the day before Rosh Hashanah. We do not sound the shofar. We don't sound the shofar. Why, we'll see. So God willing, on Sunday, I hope to God, no promises, I will give a class on the Haftorah, maybe also the Torah reading of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we read, the Torah reading is about the birth of Isaac, Yitzchak, and right after that, it's one big portion. And then that's the first day. And the second day, we read about how Abraham took Yitzchak and sacrificed him to sacrifice him, right? To sacrifice him. Okay, now signing off, and then I'll talk to you about these, answer these questions. You have 1 minute. 1 minute. There you go.